Hey guys, how's it going? Twigs here. So, yesterday I finished the Black Shores 1.3 story of Wuthering Waves. And over the course of time of me playing for this, I've seen online basically a very polarized community. Half the community is very displeased with the story, and then the other half of the community is overjoyed and very pleased with how the story played out, even going as far as I've seen some people even say it's a masterpiece. I wouldn't go that far. In my humble opinion, I am a little bit in between. Like when it comes to visuals, as you can see here with this scene right here, this setting, it is absolutely gorgeous. The Black Shores is a very gorgeous map, and I'm just showing you the actual Black Shores part of the update. There is another location that I'll show you guys here later that is equally as impressive in its just design and layout of how they designed this whole world. But that is visuals, and as you guys can see with daytime on this location, it is equally as beautiful. But that's just the Black Shores that you can see here. When it comes to mission designs, the missions were beautifully crafted. There was even one mission that blew me out of the water, where you were literally going through different portals into different timelines and different locations and running on the walls and trains coming out of portals going by you. It was an excellently designed mission, and that goes for every mission that we went through. And then here in this location, the Tethys Deeps, another beautiful location, the music has been great. As you guys listen to the previous soundtrack from the last location I was in to the soundtrack in here, music is just absolutely beautiful. And so easily they knocked it out of the park with music and graphics, visuals, mission and graphic design. Everything has been excellent from that point of view. But now we're going to get into the one thing that everyone is very polarized about, and that is the story. So I'm going to play a little bit of the trailer in the background, but the story is overall, I'm mixed and I'm a little bit polarized on it, because the story plays off with the rover going to meet up with Yang Yang and the new character Yoo-hoo. And it comes off very abrupt, like out of nowhere, here we are, we're talking to Yang Yang, and we're meeting a new character. And all of a sudden, we're being thrown into Yang Yang essentially saying, hey, I remember you talking about that you want to meet up with the Black Shores. Well, Yoo-hoo here might have a lead on how to help you. So apparently, Yoo-hoo, just out of nowhere, coincidentally bought something that might be tied into the Black Shores. She has a pretty good feeling about it. And then Yang Yang is like, hey, and while we're here, guess what? Some Black Shores people might happen to be here at the location where we fight the Infernal Rider on the world map. And, oh, guess what? The Black Shores run into a crisis right when we happen to have this discussion about the rover needing to get in touch with the Black Shores. So that's one of my nitpicks to kind of summarize, is that the story with its plot plays very fast and loose. And that can leave things to be feeling really jarring, because it makes the pace feel like we're just going at a breakneck speed trying to get to the point of our plot without actually genuinely wanting to kind of tie up loose ends when we're trying to tell a coherent story. Which the story pretty much revolves around Shorekeeper and the Black Shores, and Rover's connection with the Black Shores and Shorekeeper in turn. That is literally the whole story, while at the same time trying to explain what happened to that city where the Infernal Rider is, and how it basically got torn to shreds by the Lament, and explaining what the Tethys system has to do with being able to keep track, predict, and potentially attempt to stop laments. And basically the Tesla system is a supercomputer that happens to be under the Black Shores. And if anyone was wondering, this is the Tesla system. Everything under the map is the Tesla system. It's basically a big supercomputer that happens to be under the Black Shores. And this goes into another problem with the story, how it plays fast and loose. It barely explains any of this. You have to, the viewer, the reader, the audience, when it comes to how Wuthering Waves has told this story, you have to pay really close attention or you will get lost. Because there is a lot of techno jargon, techno blah blah going on. And I am literally playing through this story going, oh my god. But I did eventually pick up what they were putting down. But when you have all this techno jargon along with telling a story at a breakneck speed and playing fast and loose with your plot, that's putting a lot on the reader's shoulders, the player's shoulders, on what they need to fill in the blanks on. And that is essentially a lot to put on the player's shoulder when we're going through a narrative, when a lot of this could be better done if we at least slowed down a little bit to be able to let the story breathe. When it comes to the biggest gacha games, when it comes to open world anime-esque gacha games, the two big ones are, and I'm just going to group them all together, Hoyoverse and now Wuthering Waves and Kuro games. And it's so funny that we have two opposite spectrums of storytelling. You have Hoyoverse's style of storytelling, which is very big into exposition dumps. Just blowing the whole load of what's the fuck's going on in the story in a lot of settings where we're just literally, as the main character, sitting down with a bunch of other characters, and just basically the story is being laid out on the table in front of us. And that's why Hoyoverse's storytelling has been ridiculed as just a huge exposition dump. And then we have, on the other opposite side of the spectrum, Wuthering Waves now, who loves, and this is just something I've noticed with 1.0, 1.1, and I'm going to skip 1.2, and now with 1.3. 1.1, with the Mount Firmament story being, in my opinion, the best story that Kuro Games and Wuthering Waves have told so far, because it did strike a balance between dumping exposition and telling a fluid story with enough action to keep your interest. But that's what I've noticed so far with these two games when I reflect back on them, is that can we please come to an agreement and strike a balance between doing exposition, tons of exposition, while also telling a story at a relatively decent speed that kind of feels action-packed. You can have a perfect blend because exposition is important, because it helps slow down the story after big action events, big climactic storytelling events. Exposition is important to slow down the energy, let a moment breathe, and explain by bridging from the moments that we just watched or experienced and lead into another action-packed scene. And that was the problem that I noticed with 1.3 in the Black Shore story, is that we didn't take any time to let a moment breathe. We just got a bunch of techno blah blah, action scenes out the ass. Won't get me wrong, they were really good, but nothing was given time to breathe. The little bit of exposition we did get, it was very coincidental. It was very just out of nowhere. Like, for example, with the beginning with Yoo-Hoo and Yang Yang, where we just are setting up the events that are going to lead into the Black Shore story by pure happenstance. All right, next is going to be another big topic that I noticed that came out of the story, which is the love story, relationship, the rekindling of a friendship with the rover and the shorekeeper herself. A lot of people had mixed opinions on how they felt about this being a big part of the story. And let's be real here, this, besides what was going down on the Black Shores, this was a big issue, whether people liked it or didn't like it. Again, this was a very polarizing story. For me, I personally wish they just went all the way with it. Instead of just dancing around the whole potential love story, just don't tease it. If you're going to do it, just go all the way. Because the thing is that as we're going through this story, the rover, as we know, has lost their memories, and they're trying to figure out who they are. And we meet up with the shorekeeper. The shorekeeper, right out of the gate, basically tells us that, hey, you and I used to know each other. In fact, you taught me a lot of what I know. And hell, you also created the Black Shores. And you basically are my reason for living. And also, you gave me my purpose, which is to lead the Black Shores and make sure that I fulfill my role in making sure the Black Shores continues to do their job. And then as we're going through this, the shorekeeper is just basically confessing how they feel about us. I'm paraphrasing a lot here, but she's just laying down all her emotions in front of us to the point where the rover puts aside pretty much logic to just save the shorekeeper from a big climactic event, one of the many, and even going as far as saving her from throwing her life away, because the shorekeeper was trying to do one of those heartfelt self-sacrifices for the greater good, but the rover didn't like it. They wanted the shorekeeper. Every shorekeeper is saved by the rover at the end of the day, and the shorekeeper basically confesses their love to us. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but that's how I took it. They are wanting to dance around it, like implying that there is some type of deep emotional connection between the shorekeeper and the rover. That much is very apparent. But also like teasing, hinting at a potential love story. And in my opinion, don't tease it. Don't fucking dance around it. If you're going to do it, fucking do it. Now, but the thing is I understand 100% why they're not going to go all the way with it. And that is just basically because the psychology of a gacha game is to never truly establish a relationship with the main character, and that's in any gacha game, because the viewer, the player, obviously in a way self-inserts themselves as the main character as they're going through the story, and you don't want to tie down the main character to a relationship, because not all the players are going to be thirsty for the shorekeeper. So that's why in the psychology of it all, that they're not going to go all the way with it. But the thing is that because you didn't go all the way with it, you hurt the story in the process. Because here I am just fucking do it. If you're going to set up this relationship, just fucking do it. And then there's one last thing that I noticed with community response to the story. And that is how important, after now experiencing this story, how important the rover is to the overall just plot, the whole world of Wuthering Waves. Because as we've gone through the 1.0 story with the Jin show, the rover was basically essentially the savior of the Jin show. They basically were treating the rover as Jesus. And then in 1.1, apparently the rover has a deep, long time history with the Sentinel Jue, going as far as to potentially set up the rover as the god of this whole world, or at least the Jin show. And then we get into the Black Shores, and apparently the rover created the Black Shores has a deep understanding of the Tethys system, the supercomputer under the Black Shores, even has experienced what has happened, what catastrophes happened in the past, like what the city where the Infernal Rider hangs out at, and as we've obviously seen, has taught the Shorekeeper everything she knows. So that's one other criticism I'm seeing with this story, is that it really establishes how important the rover is, and that the rover obviously has a substantial amount of importance in this story.
The stars rest in silence.
And some people are saying that it's like
journey.
too much, like there's too much importance with the main character, and it really makes all the other characters, and then to this point it's true, it makes all the other characters feel less important when our main character is basically a god. And I think Kuro Games probably does need to kind of back off on showing how powerful or how important the rover is to the story, because it could lead into a Superman complex. Because one of the biggest issues with Superman is that he doesn't really have any genuine rivals. Obviously, I am overlooking Doomsday. Doomsday was literally designed to kill Superman. So my point is that Superman falls into the same problem where he is so powerful that just about all other characters feel less important. And that is right now where the rover is falling. And that right now is an issue that I'm starting to see with Rover, and that's why I kind of agree with the argument that the rover is put on such a high pedestal that all the characters feel less important. And that's why I think that Kuro Games and Wuthering Waves do need to introduce more characters
awaiting their fated
that
journey.
can be on the same level as the rover. That way the world feels like it's more on an even playing field. Like, yes, there are going to be some characters that are less than, but we need to see other characters be on the same level as Rover. So overall though, I do think the 1.3 story was interesting. It did add a lot of lore to what's going on in this game, and it did come off pretty interesting. But I do think that if there was going to be any criticism that I hope Kuro Games and Wuthering Waves takes going forward, it is to definitely flush out the stories more, add more context so that way the events in the story don't feel fast and loose, make everything feel like it's not occurring by happenstance, because that just makes everything feel very coincidental. And then there's only so much a reader, a player, the audience can put their disbelief to the side.
The stars
and don't be
rest in
afraid
silence,
really to add
awaiting
exposition.
their fated journey.
Like I said, exposition is important because it helps create breathing room so that epic events have room to breathe, have room to kind of settle in the viewer's mind. Obviously, don't go as far as Hoyoverse, where everything in their stories has just a shitload of exposition. I'm not saying go that far. That's why I said earlier, let's try to find a middle ground. But overall, I did think it was good. The story was not by any means great. It was not great at all, but I would say it was right there in the middle of good. Wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it was just good. I still believe the Mount Firmament story is so far the best story that Wuthering Waves has told. That was an excellent story. But this was good. Wasn't great, just good. But definitely head down to the comments down below and let me know what you guys have thought about the 1.3 story. Like I said, thought it was good, but I want to hear what you guys think. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear your takes. Are you very disappointed with the 1.3 story? Or are you very happy with the 1.3 story? Or are you like me and just kind of right there in the middle? I want to hear you guys' take, so definitely let me know. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hitting that like button helps get the video out there. Hitting that subscribe button helps grow the community over here, helps grow the channel. So definitely hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll catch you guys later.